There's a lot of really awesome countries in Victoria 3, but with the 1.5 patch, there has been a lot of distinctions between the nations and a lot of changes that have affected them. That's why today I'm going to be playing as the Russian Empire, and I'm going to be showing you guys why I personally think Russia is the strongest and most powerful nation in Victoria 3, especially with the 1.5 patch. Now, if we get 6,900 likes on this video, we will continue this campaign and we'll be forming the Soviet Union as the Russians and take this campaign all the way up until 1936, the end date of the game. And hey, if you enjoy the content, consider subscribing. I'm trying to get to 190,000 subs by the end of December, which is basically around the corner, so probably not gonna happen, but at least I gotta try, right? Now, despite the Russians having at the very beginning 35 million GDP, 58 million population, a massive army, and surprisingly a pretty strong flotilla, they do lack certain things such as technology, and they have one of the worst legislation sets I've seen in the game out of any starting nation. I'm especially looking at usurpdom, as well as land-based taxation, traditionalism, which with the 1.5 patch gives you minus 15% MAPI or market access price impact, which essentially means that we're gonna really be struggling with our economy here until we get rid of traditionalism, especially, which is not gonna be easy. Legislation is extremely hard to pass in Russia, unfortunately, and we do start with the gentry assembly, as well as a lot of support for the armed forces and the Orthodox Church, and we are suppressing apparently the intelligentsia. Obviously, that's the first thing we're going to change here. We're going to be bolstering the intelligentsia. Well, actually, no, hold up. I'm not going to bolster the intelligentsia. I'm going to bolster the industrialists. Honest mistake. They both kind of have the same color, okay? Don't judge me right there. Anyway, we're bolstering the industrialists because we need to industrialize our country. Right now, the Russian Empire is essentially a backwards agricultural land owning sort of society, which is not what we want to see. Quite the opposite. We're gonna need to pass a lot of legislation to get this country back on track, but it's gonna happen, don't worry. Of course, the first one you can do is gonna be a dedicated police force. It has 72% endorsement. Might as well do this. It's better than no police force, and dedicated police force also lowers the state penalty from turmoil, as well as lowers the radicals from standard of living decrease. We are gonna have a lot of standard of living decrease until we stabilize our economy, but I'm only doing this first because it is the only one available. However, we will be changing from the gentry assembly, and we will be trying to get other interest groups in our government. I believe we can even get the armed forces, maybe the Orthodox Church in from the beginning. Yeah, we can. There you go. So yeah, we can do this, and we still have 99% righteous government. We also probably can do a few other legislations, but again, keeping with the police force first, and then we decide afterwards what else we're going to go for. Now, we're going to keep that aside for now. Let's check our authority. We are bolstering industrials, and we have consumption taxes on liquor. Now, we do not want consumption taxes on liquor. Why is that? Because our population is primarily lower strata. 55 million is lower strata, and one of the main things that the lower strata loves is liquor. Now, if we have taxes, consumption taxes on liquor, that is going to affect them massively, and it's going to lower the standard of living. We don't want that to be lowered. As such, we're going to remove the liquor tax. So you can tell that the liquor tax brings in a lot of money because it affects a lot of people, but it's not efficient. If anything, we're going to set up the services tax, because services, end of the day, affects mostly the middle and upper strata, which we don't have that many of, and we're okay with taxing since they're already living the vida loca here with 29 prosperous and 17 middling for both of these groups. Of course, to go in tandem with that, we're going to assign luxury furniture consumption tax, luxury clothes consumption tax, and porcelain consumption tax. Why these? Because they primarily affect the upper and middle strata, and because we want to slowly increase our standard of living. We don't want to screw over the peasants as much as we are screwing them at the start of the campaign, right? Now, you probably realize, as the Russians, we have a lot of unrealized taxes. That is a big problem. That is a very, very big problem. We're losing 67,000 in unrealized taxes. Basically, pretty much every single area doesn't have enough government administration buildings, and we're going to need to pump up the amount of government administration buildings everywhere, but that is not our first priority, because right now we only have 4 construction sectors, and we need to get our basic industry running. Obviously, before we do that, let's finish off with our authority points, since I started doing that, right? I am going to set up the encouraged resource industry in Perm. Why in Perm? Because Perm alongside Tver are 2 states that have a lot of coal mines, iron mines. Same goes for Moscow, a lot of iron mines, coal mines. So Moscow, Tver, and Perm with the capital of Ingria are going to be my main focuses of building up in the early part of the campaign. However, because we have really low mappy, we need to kind of evenly distribute the initial buildings around our country, because if we just build everything in one little area, it's going to be hard to get that all around the country, since now the difference is we have the local prices. So as you can tell here, there's a big difference between Trans-Baikal's 11.1 cost for grain and Alaska's 26.1 cost for grain. Even though it's the same country, the local prices are massively different because of the lower mappy that we have. Once we have a higher mappy, things are going to change. Things are going to even themselves out a little bit more in our country. But until we reach that point, we will unfortunately have to build up a little bit more wide around the country. And then as we're building wide, we have to start focusing in specific areas where it is going to be a lot more beneficial and we get a lot more out of those areas, like say Perm, like I was saying before, Moscow, Tver, and Ingria. But not only though. I also have 200 left authority points. I'm actually going to bolster the intelligentsia. So I'm bolstering eventually intelligentsia and industrialists. Now that is because they have a lot of legislation that they would be willing to pass that we need to pass in our country, which is in stark contrast to the gentry assembly, which is the landowners that have traditionalist as that is literally the worst thing that we can have. Now we could say get rid of this guy since he is a traditionalist, and maybe we can get somebody else that is not a traditionalist in government. Literally anybody else for that matter would be better than this. I will pay more attention to the whole government situation after we pass the first legislation. However, until that point, let's get our technology going here. Now we're going to go to society and we're going to go for the stock exchange, because this increases our market access price impact, or MAPI, by 10%. Remember, MAPI is the thing that is essentially slowly killing us as a nation in the early part of the campaign. So we need to improve our MAPI. This stock exchange improves it by 10%. It is an absolutely vital technology to have as the Russians early on in the campaign. Then we're going to also go for the lathes, atmospheric engine, so we have a proper industry going off, agriculture, intense agriculture, and so on. A lot of the basic technologies here are required and we don't have, so we need to gun for these. We're also pretty far behind with our military stuff, but that is not a priority for me. Quite the opposite. I have other things on my mind right now. Just realized that with the most recent patch, they actually changed the location of the Navy and the Army. Actually, a lot of this has been swapped around, hasn't it? Yeah, it has. I just realized that. What? We're also going to set up our taxes to very high taxes because we need that early infusion of money to grow our economy, and also because it lowers the attraction of interest groups in government by 20%. So remember, our interest groups in government are the ones we don't really want to have in government. So lowering the attraction of these interest groups is actually beneficial for us. Once we get rid of these bad boys and we bring in the intelligentsia, industrialists, and so on in our government, of course, we're also going to slowly lower our taxation. The goal is to have very low taxes by the mid to late part of the campaign. So you progressively start lowering your taxes as you improve your economy. Now, that is it for the budget bit. Let's go ahead and set up our production methods. The Russians actually start with a lot of inefficient production methods from the beginning, so we're going to change that. We're going to go for sweeteners for the food industries, as well as pot stills, craftsman sewing for the textile mills. Now, this does mean that we're going to need to get some silk, and we don't have that much of, but we can always import silk, so we're going to do that before we unpause, of course. We want to get also dye workshops, but we need to get the lathe research before that happens. It's just generally a good idea to go around and switch on over whichever production method is outdated, and make sure you have the right resources to back up those production methods. So if you say switch over here to rough iron tools in the tooling workshops, you need to make sure you have enough iron and wood available in the tooling workshops affected to have a high productivity coming out of those particular production methods. Also here, market squares and gas street lights are really good, but our production of coal is not as amazing as it is. We're going to exempt some of these for the time being, and we're going to change everything to gas street light once we have enough coal production going for us. Oh, actually we have, my bad, no coal production going right now, so we're going to change this back until we actually have some coal production going. We primarily are producing grain, a little bit of iron right now we're doing in Saratov, Ural, Samara, Perm, and Moscow. A lot of logging camps, and that is one of our premier feature, let's say. So if we go over to wood, we are probably we're the second greatest producer of wood after Qing, but we have a lot of potential for wood production, even higher than Qing if you ask me, because check it out, even the Siberian plains means we could potentially produce a ton of wood. Wood is basically going to be needed for the entirety of the campaign, and as you progress in the campaign, it is going to be the one good that is going to prevent a lot of nations from maximizing their profits. We're going to switch over to citrus orchards and apple orchards here too. We're not switching to harvest tools just yet because we don't actually have that many tools, so we need to get more tooling workshops built. Atmospheric engine pump is being researched, and that is good because picks and shovels is likely the worst production method imaginable for your industry. It is in fact not an industry. Picks and shovels means that we have shopkeepers in charge as owners of these particular mines, and shopkeepers only contribute 5% dividends to the investment pool, which equates to basically nothing. We want to switch on over to capitalist, so that means privately owned or publicly owned or publicly traded, better yet, ownership method, because capitalists give 20% of their income as dividends to the production, to the investment pool, which means you grow your economy a lot faster. To industrialize, we need to get atmospheric engine pumps, which has already been queued up as our technology. Once we have atmospheric engine pumps, we will have our ownership switch over to privately owned. Same goes for all of our other production methods. This is the main issue in our country, right? Right now we have privately owned plantations, which means that aristocrats are the ones that are owning this, and aristocrats only contribute 10% as dividends to the investment pool, whilst publicly traded is capitalist, which contribute 20% dividends to the investment pool. So your investment pool essentially is going to be very small for the starting part of the campaign as the Russians, but after we start industrializing the nation, is going to change significantly. One more thing we want to change is the fishing trawlers from simple fishing, because it's going to give a lot more fish and it's going to increase employment of machinists rather than laborers, whilst at the same time increase the need for clippers. But we will be importing clippers as long as we can, and we also will be building some more shipyards to make more clippers in the process. Now the first thing we're going to be building is of course the construction sectors. We only start with 4 of them, so it's not that many. Let's queue up say a good 10 of them over in Moscow and 10 of them over in our capital. Actually, that probably is a little bit more than I'm comfortable with at the start. Let's just say 8 in Moscow, and that's it. And then we start building more construction sectors afterwards, because we need to also queue up a few other things after the construction sectors. We want to queue up, of course, a little bit of everything, so we need to start some coal mines, obviously. Moscow might be the best one for that. Actually, no, Perm is the best one for that. Up to 80 potential coal mines in there. But because of our lower market access, I'm going to build my first 2 in Moscow, and we build more afterwards. I'm also going to get 1 lead mine in the Urals, because we have one production method that requires lead, and we don't have any right now. Silk, again, we need silk, and we have the ability to get silk in the Caucasus area, so we're going to build up, which one has the highest potential? 50. Okay, so we're going to build up 5 silk plantations in the greater Caucasus area, or state better yet, and of course tooling workshops. We have 7 of these starting off in Moscow. We're going to go up to 10 of these in Moscow at the start. Now that we're done with the production queue for the time being, let's go ahead and import some things. We will need a few things. For example, we're going to need to... Wait, why are we importing that much grain? Oh, I forgot. Right, so we're exporting right now a lot of grain, and we don't want to export any grain. In fact, overall, we want to keep all of that grain for ourselves. And now it seems like we can still import some grain from Qing, so might as well import the grain so we don't have issues with grain then. We're going to temporarily import some tools as well from the Swedes, some clothes from the Brits too. Apparently we can get some weapons as well from Qing. Whatever is necessary, essentially, you want to import it. Tea from the Ottomans, sure, why not? That should be okay for the time being. And I forgot to queue up my iron mines, so we're going to queue up 2 of them in Saratov and another 3 in Perm for now. Like I said earlier, we need to distribute the schnapps a little bit more even until we get stock exchange and we get rid of traditionalism at the very least, right? Now let's talk about our armies a little bit. We do have a ton of units, and I mean a ton of them, but I don't like to have that many, and I don't think I'm going to need to have that many separate armies. I'm going to just have 5 main army groups. So I'm going to be merging a lot of these army groups into these 5 army groups. Take note, we start with a lot of outdated units. So we have cannon artillery and we have hussars. We need to upgrade these to mobile artillery and lancers. You can tell the difference here. Hussars only have 10 and 15 offense and defense, and they have 1 grain input upkeep, whilst the lancers have a lot more upkeep. They have iron upkeep, small arms, grain, but they do double the offense, double the defense, and they have 5% kill rate and battle occupation plus 30%. So way more worth it than the hussars. Same goes here. The cannon artillery is significantly significantly inferior to the mobile artillery, but it has a higher upkeep of artillery, so keep that in mind. It's always like this: the higher your unit, the more the upkeep's gonna be, with essentially later down the line the mechanized infantry having a lot of oil upkeep, ammunition, tanks, radios, and so on. But that's for the later part of the campaign, whenever we get the light goal, of course. We're gonna need these troopers because we're gonna be doing some early expansion, and because of that we're gonna change our declared interest areas. So we're gonna have North China, since we want to take some provinces from the Chinese, including Beijing and the Manchurian bits. We're also gonna try and get ourselves a little bit of a foothold in South America wherever it's possible, as well as Arabia for those early easy wars to take out Yemen, to take out the Najd, and the parts of Arabia that will have a lot of oil in the later part of the campaign. It's not like it's going to be a massive issue because we do have a lot of oil ourselves as the Russians, but having the oil in Arabia means we're starving other great powers like Britain, like whoever else would have had attacked this area if we didn't attack it. Early on in the campaign, they don't have so much interest in this, so they don't care about us attacking it too much. But as you progress, the English especially will protect Arabia, so you want to move fast and you want to get the Arabian lands as any nation, especially as the Russians, right, before anybody else does. Same goes for here. The Kenyan bits and start colonizing into Kenya or just taking over Zanzibar is a really good area since it's extremely high GDP as well, as is Madagascar, a pretty interesting spot to get, of course. We don't really care about France or about the Rhine, so I'm going to cancel that. Actually, I'm going to cancel Italy too since I don't care about it at all. And we're going to get Indonesia. We might do some expansion there. Indochina as well. And North Africa temporarily, plus mostly almost all of Africa really. So I'm doing this because a lot of other great powers will start diplomatic plays in these lands, and when they do start those diplomatic plays, I'm going to be there to be swayed on either side, and maybe I can get myself some easy lands or some nice treaties or some bankrolls or some war reparations without doing anything. You'll see what I'm talking if it happens. It's just a good idea to be interested in areas that other great powers are interested in as well. Let's also import some more silk temporarily until we finish building our own silk plantations. And guys, very, very important, this is actually one of the worst part about Russia at the start, namely is the fact that we start with most of our country as unincorporated areas. So we need to incorporate these. The problem is that these being unincorporated means we don't get any taxes from these areas. We need to get those taxes, right? So we're gonna start with the big states in the east first, and then we're gonna get the rest of the Siberian parts afterwards as well. It does of course mean that we're gonna need to get a lot more bureaucracy, so those government administration buildings that we need to build anyway, because we're losing right now 96,000 from unrealized taxes because we don't have the government buildings built. It's kind of why I really enjoy playing as Russia in Victoria 3. Like, it has a lot of potential, but it is one of the most effed up nations in the campaign at the start. So if you don't know how to exactly fix all of these issues, you're gonna absolutely struggle with them massively the entire campaign. We've also started improving relations with certain nations. So we're improving with the Prussians, with the French, and with the English. We could also say temporarily improve with the Austrians because they might prove of help against our rivals, the Ottomans, longtime rivals, of course. I am, on the other hand, gonna make the Spanish my rivals, not because I really need to. Same with the Swedes. It's just because I'm gonna get some extra influence. So now we have 700 influence, meaning we can do more stuff as consequence. Plus, it also means we have 15% infamy decay. So us doing nasty schnaps doesn't make that much of a difference anymore because it's gonna go down a lot faster. We can also get a lot of alliances here with probably the Wallachians, Moldovans, and the Greeks. The Greeks would love us actually right now to ally. We don't even need to use obligations on these guys. Holy snaps. How about the Wallachians? They're close to it. Minus 24 is actually pretty decent, but we're not gonna do that. We're gonna try and gun for an alliance with either the French or the British later in the campaign, and I guess temporarily we can. No, I'm not gonna waste my influence points just for the Greek. We do have over here the Grand Duchy of Finland. We can ask them to reduce autonomy. They will accept, so we're not gonna be needing to do a war against them to accept that. So now they are a puppet, which means that we can annex them when the truce is over. And we also have these other puppets over here that we can annex right now. It's only 1.2. They will not accept, however, so we're gonna have to actually attack these guys. It's not gonna be too hard, obviously, since they're insignificant and they have like 3 battalions or some schnaps, and nobody also supports them. So we're just gonna do this as we go along in the campaign, so we can have borders with the stands, because we want to get all that juicy opium from the stands and of course from Qing and so on. We will attack Qing though once they are at war with the Brits, so it's going to be significantly easier for us to grab the provinces that we want to grab from them once they've started their struggle against the greatest empire, the British Empire, right? Temporary greatest. We're going to be bigger than them. In the New World, we will also try and gun for South America. Bolivia is a really great target, actually, since it also offers the 3 small nations here that will become its junior partner as Peru, but also Argentina and Chile is very easy. And the reality is that a lot of the times the great powers don't care if you attack Argentina or Chile, but they do care a lot more if you attack Bolivia. So it's a little bit RNG. I will try both sides, and whichever works is fine with me, in my opinion. Doesn't matter which one you do first, also, to be fair. I'm gonna do my vassals here first, but it's up to you. It doesn't make any difference, really. Just assign these guys to the front line, and we seem to have an agitator for homesteading. Oh my god, that is so good RNG right there. Like, actually really good RNG. Holy mother, we need homesteading because we do have right now serfdom, and having homesteading is gonna make a massive freaking difference, man. Serfdom offers 50% political strength for the freaking gentry assembly or landowners, so it is one of the worst ones you can have. So yeah, getting rid of that is a vital thing, obviously. Since we're upgrading a lot of cannons, we also need more import of artillery. We're gonna do that from wherever we can get them. We're gonna need to build our own domestic industry of artillery and everything else, so we'll do that as we progress. It's just, it takes a while, but we'll get there. Let's also switch over to iron frame buildings temporarily. It's gonna help us build our construction sectors a little bit faster, but it is gonna have, I'm gonna queue this up at the bottom. We don't need to prioritize silk plantations whatsoever right now, and we also have a debuff of minus 19% construction efficiency in the Greater Caucasus, so there's that too, right? Hey, another 15% enactment chance. Don't mind if I do. 84%. We're about to get that right now, boys. Well, at least get it to the next phase, at least. I have to say, I really adore how you really see the convoys on the map moving. Check it out, and you see the different colors and everything. That is so cool, man, and this changes as you progress. So I really like the immersiveness they added with the 1.5. It makes the game like a completely different game, in my opinion. Almost forgot to also merge up all of my fleets into one fleet, and let's continue with the other annexation of the rest of my vassal. I'm also going to need some decent generals, and the thing is, I want to get a general that actually has some better traits. Maybe I can get some... Oh, this guy is a jingoist. Okay, that is not bad. Jingoist means that if we manage to get this guy in charge of our gentry assembly or the landowners, then he's going to have a better stance on colonization, and most importantly, a amazing stance on professional army, which we really want to switch over to, because peasant levies right now... Yeah, let's just recruit this guy here. Yeah, as I was saying, peasant levies offers 25% political strength of aristocrats. If we manage to get on over to the professional army, we're going to be redoing the interest of the aristocrats, the servicemen, and non-servicemen. So what's going to happen is it's going to rebalance the way that our pops see the interest groups, which is something we really need to do. Plus, overall, getting professional army is much better. Look at that. We can have up to 100 barracks max level, plus 1% conscription rate, morale loss reduction, and experience gain weekly for our armies and navies. So it's definitely worth getting professional armies, always. One more thing to note, guys, is that I don't have an actual investment pool right now, so there's no private sector that's building stuff for me. Why is that? Is because of the settings. I actually set it so that I have direct investment pool access, so the 1.3 million that is in the investment pool, I will be using to build stuff. Right now, unfortunately, I can only build buildings that are in the agriculture, plantation, or ranches area with the investment pool funds, because we have traditionalism. So I'm going to keep the money aside, and once we switch on over from traditionalism, I'm going to be able to use this investment pool money to build anything I want, and I will of course use it to build industrial buildings rather than freaking ranches and schnapps, right? But this is just my own personal preference. I actually recommend for newer players especially to just use the default feature, let the game build whatever it wants as private buildings, because a lot of people, you know, it's easier, let's face it. I'm a little bit of a control freak. That's why I want to make sure that I have the right buildings in the right places, and I'm not a fan of the AI building stuff in provinces that I don't want them to be building in, you know. Also, I want to point out that why I love Perm is as well because it has the iron ore mine throughput plus 20% and the logging throughput plus 20%. Same goes for the Urals, iron mine throughput plus 20%, and we can have up to 96 mines and 84 coal mines. Actually, I'm wrong. Perm and Ural are the best states for coal/iron mines, and then after it's the rest over here. These are by far the best. I think they've actually rebalanced some of these, haven't they? I didn't even pay attention before. All right, we got dedicated police force now. Problem is, we also have 22% tax waste, so we're going to need to build those government buildings now. We do have some support for colonial resettlement and colonial exploitation, but even better than that, we have support support for charity hospitals. Now, charity hospitals is better than no hospitals because it's going to give us standard of living for the lower strata, which is the majority of our country, plus 0.5 per level. We want to eventually get public health insurance, obviously, but charity hospitals is, of course, really good as well, even though it increases the Orthodox Church political strength, unfortunately, right? So we're going to go for that first, and let's also queue up some of those government administration buildings that we desperately need. Now, let's check which states would be the most beneficial for that. I think Kursk and Kiev would be, in fact, those two states. So let's actually out-click one in each, and then afterwards another 3 in each, I guess. The Argentinians are fearful. There is a chance that they might actually give up and just become our protectorate without any sort of a fight. I would love to see that happen, but let's see. Nobody has supported them, which is to be expected, of course. They've declared neutrality. They got their own wars to be worrying about, including the British have started their war against the Qing. All right, we gotta fight this, no problem. Let's go ahead and navally invade them in that case. 10% extra enactment chance. Hails to the yes, boys. Trade agreement with the Brits. Don't mind if I do, actually. Wow, instantly, as we just researched stock exchange, our economy increased by 20,000. Holy mother, man, that says a lot. And of course, without any sort of a surprise, we're absolutely crushing the Argentinians. I like getting all of these areas earlier on the campaign because it's obviously a lot less infamy when you get this in the early bit of the campaign compared to getting it in the later part when, you know, they've grown in GDP and pop, so it costs a lot more infamy. Like this is 13 infamy right now. That is almost nothing. All right, another desperate allies. The intelligentsia gets interest group approval. Hell yeah, that's literally what I want. It's not even desperate allies. That is a good thing, brother. Okay, we need to build up more construction sectors. Let's go, baby. Let's go. We need to boost up our construction production because we were actually very behind. I should have done this a while back. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Everything is good. All right, time for another naval invasion, courtesy of the Russian Imperial Fleet. We also got lathes, so let's go for dye workshop, as well as lathes for the furniture manufactory, and leaded glass. We do have that one lead mine now. We're gonna need to build a little bit more lead mines, I guess. Well, increase the size of the lead mine, really. And look at this, guys. Our tooling workshop is absolutely struggling because we do not have enough iron, so we need to build a lot more iron now. We're gonna queue up a ton of iron mines. However, because charity hospitals is getting adopted a lot faster than I expected it to, we're gonna need to queue up more government administration buildings also. So let's see which area is struggling the most. Still Kursk, Kiev, and Bryansk. Okay, and Kazan. All right, so let's queue up a few more in those areas. Okay, we got roughly 6 more in there, and let's also get more iron mines now. Say 10 of these for now in Saratov, and then we build more, another 5 say in Perm, and another 5 afterwards in Urals. That should be fine for the initial phase, I guess. So we've past charity hospitals, but now we have a little bit of a dilemma because we really want to get professional army. However, the problem is that we have a lot of opposition from the gentry assembly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the mind of the gentry assembly. So I'm going to cancel the gentry assembly from the government. There you go. And then I'm going to exile this guy here and hope that the new leader of the gentry assembly is not going to be a traditionalist and maybe even going to be a jingoist, because jingoist would be pro-professional army. So how do you make sure that you get a jingoist? Well, you make sure that pretty much everybody of your characters, that means all of your admirals and generals, will be either a jingoist or will have some sort of inclination that supports the legislation that you want to have supported. So like this guy here. This guy could potentially be our new leader. I'm going to promote him to level 5 so he has a higher chance of getting the new leadership. Now, if he has a lot of popularity, that's going to increase his chance also to become the new leader. This guy doesn't have much popularity. I think we have a second jingoist that has more popularity though. Actually, no, the second guy is a reformer, which is also not a bad one. Better than traditionalist, obviously. So this would allow us to get compulsory primary education, as well as properly tied women and cultural exclusion. Cultural exclusion is seriously on my mind as well. So yeah, I don't mind a jingoist or a reformer instead of the traditionalist guy. Come on, boys, we got a foothold. Peru is rightful Russian clay. Everybody knows it's passed down from ancient Russians. Shut up, don't think about it too much. Yay, I think that's their capital, isn't it? Yep, La Paz should be their capital state. So we've essentially won, and they have become our protectorate, and we have 4.4 reputation, sorry, infamy, which means we can attack another nation and make them our vassal. We're probably going to do the same with a lot of places, including most of South America and the Middle East, because we can. Why not? We're an expansionist Russia, all right? That's what we are here. All right, guys, so now that we've gotten our charity hospitals, we need to also get that professional army. However, we have a lot of opposition from the gentry assembly, so what I'm going to do is a little bit of a trick here. I'm going to get the gentry assembly out of my government, and whilst they're leader out of the government, I'm going to fire the leader of the Gentry Assembly by exiling him because he is, after all, a traditionalist when it comes to ideology. That means that likely the new leader of the Gentry Assembly is going to be selected from either my admirals or my generals. So I'm going to make sure that every single one of my general has the ideology that I want him to have. I'm talking about the generals that are a part of that particular interest group. So for example, Mr. Ivan Pashchekik, which is a part of the Gentry Assembly, is a royalist. I don't want a royalist. Screw you, bro. Get out of here. Retire, commander. I'm retiring every single one of these guys that is in the Gentry Assembly and is not the thing that I want him to be, including the naval guys. So Vasily Vashoskos, you're gonna have to be let go, bro. Sorry. Only keep the guys that are jingoists or reformers. Either one of them I'm okay with. So this guy's a jingoist. How about this guy? He is a reformer, and this guy is also a reformer. He's level 5. So usually the guys that are the highest level will have the highest chance of getting selected. So this guy, I'm gonna need to promote him to level 5 if he's gonna have a chance against the other guy. Now it's gonna be down to popularity. So the higher the popularity they have, the higher the chance to become the new Gentry Assembly leader. Let's go over here, fire this guy, exile dissident, and the new guy is a reformer. That is not so bad. Reformer means we're gonna have a chance at getting cultural exclusion. We now have 50% chance to get cultural exclusion, which I'm down with. As long as you have a shared trait with any primary culture in the country, then you are basically a lot better off. Now, cultural exclusion is of course a pretty big deal, but it's going to lower our authority by a little bit, so keep that in mind too. That's fine. It's better than nothing, right? We're gonna get this, and then we're gonna do the same trick again and try and get the jingoist guy so we can get the professional army. Although we cannot just do that continuously, so we got to keep that in mind as well. All right, I need to build up more iron mines. How many do we have queued up? A few. All right, we're gonna have to build up this stuff, and whilst we're doing that, let's attack new nations, and also let's build up more construction sectors because we can do so. As long as we get away with attacking nations and nobody cares, we're gonna continue to do it, right? We've also queued up more universities so we can maximize the amount of innovativeness that we need to get, but we have a distinct shortage of every single thing in the country, so we're gonna start slowly ramping up what we're producing here. So we're gonna get 2 more glass works in our capital, a few more in Novgorod, 2 more paper mills in Novgorod, that is. Furniture manufacturers are really good. I'd love to build these in Moscow, but until I get railways, I don't have enough market access there. So I'm not gonna do it in Moscow. I'm gonna do a secondary one in Minsk, where I do have a little bit of extra infrastructure. So let's get up to 10 in Minsk of these furniture manufactories. Now, furniture is really vital because furniture is required by all of our population, especially by the middle and upper class. They really love furniture. So we can make a ton of money from furniture and grow our GDP easily in the early part of the campaign by just spamming furniture manufactories as well as textile mills for that matter. So we can build a few of these in Bryansk, say 8 of these in Bryansk to go up to 10 flat. Holy shit, that was so fast. We got cultural exclusion in like literally record time. What? The best thing ever, boys. Atmospheric engine pumps is here. So now we can change on over these production methods to the atmospheric engine pump, which is going to make huge differences here. Now, I'm talking about massive differences. That being said, for example, Saratov seems to be struggling with the amount of tools that it's getting. So we're going to import some tools, and we're also going to queue up at least 20 tooling workshops because we really need to ramp up the production of tooling workshops. Since we already have some in Mazovia, let's alt click a few and then regular click afterwards an extra 19 so we get up to 20 in Mazovia. Germany is at war, boyos, and I think this is just Bavaria attacking its neighbors, nothing else, isn't it? Or no, it is. Okay, it's a aristocratic revolt of Württemberg. Never mind. I got too excited right there. Now we have the diplomatic play for German leadership. Okay, I might join in here just so I can get some stuff. Ottomans sided with Prussia. Oh, let's see. Oh, come on. I didn't pause in time. They offered me something. Obligations. No, I'm not gonna do that for obligations. Get out of here. If you want me to join you, I would like, what would I like? Some sort of, liberate Transylvania. Actually, I think I'm not gonna get involved since I do have trade agreements with the Austrians, and I kind of like to see Europe balanced, not have one nation get bigger than the other two. So when Germany gets formed, I'd like to see a strong Austria as well. Oh, Austria wants to be my ally. What? England wants to be my... Hells to the yes, bro. I don't mind having the world's greatest power allied to me, especially since I'm attacking basically all the areas that they would technically have an interest in a few moments. Hey, we managed to get professional army without doing any actual shenanigans when it comes to getting a new leader for the Gentry Assembly, so that's pretty good. Now, let's see what else we can get here. Serfdom, we can try and go for tenant farming. It's gonna be tough. 49% opposition from the Gentry Assembly is a lot. It is a lot. But it would mean we get 25% 40% political strength for the gentry assembly rather than 50%. We want to get homesteading, but we got to work our way before slowly try and reach homesteading. It's you know, it's better than serfdom, let's face it. It really sucks that we only have 74 innovation, man. We really need to increase our literacy. It's 16.4%, brother. That is not good. I don't think I've stayed at peace for more than a second in this campaign. Like, I've actually genuinely just been attacking left and right continuously. But hey, it's worth it. We have most of South America as our vassals or puppets, and we started expanding into Yemen. We got some parts of Africa. We got Khiva. Now we're gonna get the Uzbekia and so on. So we're growing significant. Also forgot to attack the Qing. So I guess the next war is gonna be against Qing. We also have massive shortages of fertilizer because we just discovered the technology for it. Well, we basically just got the ability to build fertilizer plants. So we're gonna build 20 in Kursk. I'm going to alt-click a few of these at the top of the queue though. Say 5 of them for now. And I'm also going to expand the construction sectors again. Finally, we managed to get tenant farmers. Actually, that was on the first attempt, so I shouldn't say finally. I should say, of course we would have gotten tenant farmers. Clearly, ha ha ha. Totally never was any sort of question if we're gonna get it. Now, the big change is gonna be the religious schools, not only because of the education access, but really just because of the education access. That's pretty much it. We want to switch to public schools later down the line because we also get the assimilation that we really want. But yeah, for now, this is gonna have to do, I guess. Also, time for the big war with the Chinese. Now, we have a few things we want from them. We want to take a few provinces, as well as we want to liberate Mongolia, since Mongolia is going to be able to become our puppet or protectorate afterwards when the truce is over, or we can even just add them to the market, which is as well as good as, you know, having them as a part of us. Either way works. Now, unsurprisingly, we're kicking butt when it comes to this war because we have better units and bigger peepees. Hey, that's how you win wars in this game, clearly. We could also do a few naval invasions if we want to, but we don't need to because the British are already handling that by, you know, going out of their little fort in Hong Kong here. They're crushing the Chinese from here with fewer troops, considerably fewer, and they're kicking some freaking Chinese butts, man. All about having better tech. Reality is in this game, check it out, 65 advantage for us simply because we have better technology compared to the Chinese starting units. But now, all that being said, after this war is done, we're gonna chill for a while because we have 53 notoriety, so we really don't want to get any more. We need to bring it down below 20 if possible, and then we can start expanding a little bit again. But hey, it's just the first 10 years of the campaign. We've done so much, and we're gonna get half of freaking China after this war, so we do deserve to chill and just build up our economy afterwards and reform our country. So also make sure we have our designated strategic interest here, which is of course going to be Beijing. And look at this, man, we've actually gotten so many freaking loyalists. That's insane, brother. Guess it means we're doing something right. We need to build this up too, so we need to build more government administration buildings, especially since we need bureaucracy for the schools too. Wait, what? Heavenly Kingdom, the fuck? Did these guys just rebel whilst these guys are at war with me? Brother, that is actually nasty. All right, boys, we got most of China. Their war score is going down, and it's gonna go down faster now, so we've basically got this in the bag, don't we now? Curious what the Heavenly Kingdom's actually going to take from the Qing after they finish their war. Are they going to just replace the entirety of Qing, or is it going to be two separate, Nate? Probably the second option now that I think about it. Defeat them! Run them over with your horses. What? Now we can actually start ramping up everything with railways unlocked. We've got massive market access issues, so this is going to help us out immensely, boys. Absolutely immensely. Let's build up our first ones in, I guess, Moscow. And what was the one that had 54? Yakutsk. Where the hell is Yakutsk? Is it this one? It is, yeah. All right, let's build up a couple of these in here as well. And we just got a huge chunk out of China. Look at this. We got Mongolia freed up. We got the outer Manchurian bits. We got Beijing. We got this area here. So in the next war, we're going to take what's left in the north and we're going to try and get all the way into Tibet because it's really low infamy, actually. It's like 3 infamy for all of the states in the western parts that they have. So we're going to get all of those in the next war. As for these guys, they might join our customs union when we're not so infamous. So we got to bring that infamy down a little bit. Actually, after unpausing, it's almost there. So if we get a defensive pact, I don't want to use my obligation with them just for that though. Now, very important, we need to build some ports here because Beijing doesn't have any ports, and as a consequence, we have 0 market access. axis. We need to connect this to the rest of our country, boys. Prussia wants to be my ally. Isn't England my ally? I guess not anymore. Okay. I don't mind helping Prussia, old boy, here to unify Germany. Now it's time to catch up with everybody else, and we're gonna have to increase our institution level for religious schools. How high can we get this? Level 2. That's fine. Better than nothing. We were gonna try and get it to level 5 as soon as we can, since we have 17 literacy. Basically, the only people that know how to read and write in our country are Shmagagadaboo, Boris, and Ivan. All 3 of them. That's it. And look at that. We can get Mongolia in our trade union or market access. So now our market is significantly bigger as consequence. Oh, and Austria-Hungary just formed. I'm also gonna queue up a few of these vineyards, since we have so much in our investment pool. We might as well make use of it, and we are lacking a little bit when it comes to wine. We might as well produce a lot of wine and export what we produce extra, and you know, keep for the rest of the people, so our standard of living goes up a little bit more since it's cheaper. Wow, all we did was try and help the Germans form Germany, and the whole freaking world now hates us. That's not even fair, man. We're trying to be the good guys here, okay? We're trying to help people out. Okay, we have the South Bessarabian retrocession. Now, this is a historical event that actually happened, in which the Russian Empire gave some provinces within Bessarabia to Moldova, provinces that had belonged to Moldova for thousands of years. Well, hundreds of years, really, because Moldova's not that old. But my point is that these were provinces that historically had been Moldovan, that were taken by the Russian Empire prior, and were now, well, were taken by the Ottomans, then by the Russians, and now in the 1800s, they were given back to the Moldovans when they unified with Romania and formed the United Principalities. Now, these were later traded, and after another Ottoman-Russian war, Dobroja was given to the United Principalities, and these provinces in Bessarabia were given back to the Russian Empire. It's a little bit more complicated. Now, we could here improve our relations with them by giving them 4 provinces in Bessarabia and Dobroja, or we can just keep those provinces for ourselves. Honestly, it's better to just keep it for yourself if you're playing against the Russians, but I'm just gonna give it because I want to see the United Principalities. I want to see the schnapps happen here, and I am Romanian / Moldovan, really, which is, by the way, Romanian. There's no difference between Moldova and Romania. It's the same people, and I want to see it happen, so that's why I gave it. Looks like Germany is also massively losing this. Everybody's piecing out, so I might actually peace out myself. Don't really care too much about it. And the peace treaty is done. I think it was a white peace because I didn't see anybody enforce nothing on the other. Oh, I see how it goes. Right after the war, I got a defensive alliance with Austrians. Okay, that right there is politics in a nutshell, boys. And we got the tech to go up to level 3 with our education, which is why we're building all of these government administration buildings. I actually kind of forgot about the Caucasus, so I'm attacking Circassia and the other Circassian state here, Caucasian, Imamat, whatever. And I'm no shot, dude. No, what the? Okay, buddy. Alrighty, buddy. Where is he? We need to get him. We need to get him right now. Monsieur Georgy Shuvalov? No, not this one. This one. Ksenia Kornilov is gonna help us get landed voting. Hails to the yeah, baby. But yeah, as I was saying, we're cutting up some loose ends here, and we're also lowering the autonomy of our subjects, so it's a lot more green on the map than it was before. And we're also building the railway, so we get the Trans-Siberian Railway network. Ooh, China appeared. And not only China, we got Manchuria, Xibe, Tibet, Uiguristan, Tuva, all future integral parts of our society, because guess what? We got 33 infamy, so that means we can fit all of these guys into the Russian Empire now. After a very long struggle, we managed to get some support for interventionism, so we get rid of that horrible traditionalism that's been affecting me so much. This is my 4th attempt to get rid of traditionalism. If we manage it, we're gonna be skyrocketing right afterwards. 4 infamy to make a protectorate out of Uiguristan. Why is it so cheap? I'm not gonna complain. I'm gonna do it. Oh, I just realized they actually have a revolution, aristocratic revolt. Right, okay. Now the revolt is over, so what the fuck, man? Why are my troops over there? Ah! This bug has been around since the freaking game. Fix it. Huzzah, one more tributary. These guys I'm probably gonna fully annex, though. I don't need to make Tuva a tributary. All right, looks like we can pretty much have a declared interest in the entirety of the freaking planet now. Oh dear, we're back to 62% notoriety or infamy, so after we take Manchuria, it's another time of Chilius, boys. We've been using a lot of infamy to lower the autonomy of our subjects in South America, so that's kind of why it went up so much. So now that we did the Trans-Siberian Railway, every owned state in East Siberia and West Siberia gets for the next 5 years coal, iron, sulfur throughput bonuses, as well as migration attraction. So this is the moment to be going and exploring some Siberian towns. counts. On the bright side, our literacy is also increasing since we managed to get leveled for our education. I really hope you guys enjoyed this run, and if you did, don't forget to leave that like so we can turn this into a Soviet Union run afterwards. And hey, until the next time, check out this awesome Germany video. And I want to give a massive thank you to all of my patrons, channel members, and Twitch subscribers. I would not be able to do this without all your support.